She's there, but she's not with you. The words are short. The phone's always face down. You catch her laughing at a text, but it's not one you sent. And every time you ask what's wrong, she says, nothing. But deep down, something is off. And your gut knows it. This video isn't for drama. It's not to make you paranoid. It's for men who are tired of being played, lied to, or gaslit into silence. Because a woman who cheats, she doesn't just flip a switch and become someone else overnight. She leaves signs, subtle at first, then louder. And if you don't catch them, you're the one left questioning your worth. So today we're going deep. You'll learn exactly what to watch for emotionally, physically, even psychologically. These aren't theories. These are real behaviors backed by pattern, not paranoia. And more important than catching her, you'll learn how to keep your power. That's what Stoicism teaches us. Not to control her, but to control how we respond. And if you're a man who's done tolerating confusion, who's ready to see clearly and act like it, then you're in the right place. Subscribe right now. This channel is where we cut through the noise every day. No fluff, no nonsense, just truth, strength, and strategy. And if you're ready to go further, join the Stoic community. That's where real men sharpen each other. Private talks, tools, brotherhood. You'll find your clarity there. You'll find your edge again. All right, ready. Let's break down the first sign and why ignoring it is the costliest mistake you'll ever make. Sign number 1, the sudden shift in her presence. Let's be real, when a woman starts cheating, she doesn't leave a note on your nightstand. She leaves energy, and that energy changes the entire room. You feel it before you see it. She's physically present, maybe even sitting right next to you, but emotionally, she's gone. It starts small. She doesn't light up when you walk in anymore. Her replies are slower, shorter. She stops asking how your day was. You used to feel seen when she looked at you. Now her eyes don't hold the same warmth. They're somewhere else, on something else, maybe someone. That sudden shift in presence, it's not random. It's usually the first real sign that her attention and possibly her loyalty has drifted. Now, here's the catch. Most men ignore this shift. They explain it away. She's just tired. She's stressed from work. She's going through something. And sure, sometimes that's true. But other times, it's her heart starting to check out of the relationship quietly. The Stoic doesn't panic. He doesn't accuse. He observes. He reads energy, not just words. Because when a woman's presence fades, it speaks louder than anything she says. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine this. You're sitting on the couch together. Same spot, same routine, but she's scrolling non-stop. You ask her a question, she answers without looking up. You try to make a joke, she doesn't even smirk. Now rewind 6 months. That same moment she would have leaned in. She would have laughed, touched your arm, maybe even started her own little story from the day. That contrast, that's the shift we're talking about. And here's what matters most. You need to notice it early, not after you've begged for attention, not after you've started doubting your own worth. Because once that presence fades, once she mentally and emotionally exits the room, your relationship starts running on fumes. So what do? The Stoic answer isn't to chase her energy. You don't overcompensate. You don't perform. You don't win her back by ignoring your own needs just to win her affection. Instead, you ground yourself. You return to your routine, your values, your calm, and you watch. Because her shift in presence is either temporary, caused by stress, distraction, or mood, or it's a sign of emotional detachment. If it's the latter, she'll show you without even realizing it. You'll notice she's more engaged with her phone than with your voice. She'll start laughing louder at texts than at your jokes. She'll initiate fewer conversations unless she needs something. You'll feel the shift when her silence gets heavier, when her body language closes off even while sitting next to you. And if you confront her too soon without clarity, you'll get defensiveness, denial, or gaslighting. But when you stay calm, stay grounded, and simply watch, you gain clarity without chaos. The Stoics believed in this idea deeply. They taught that people reveal themselves not just through words, but through their patterns, their habits, their energy. So when that shift in presence happens, don't ignore it. Don't justify it away just because you're afraid of what it might mean. Lean in, but not emotionally. Lean in with awareness. It's better to face truth early than be blindsided late. And here's something most men never hear. You are allowed to feel the shift and still choose to stay centered. You don't have to explode. You don't have to shrink. You notice. You adapt. You decide. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that moment when she's there physically but emotionally, you know she's gone? If yes, write this in the comments. I've felt it. No long story. No need to explain. Just 3 words. Because sometimes the truth doesn't need paragraphs. Now stay with me, because in the next sign we'll break down exactly how she responds when you start asking simple, innocent questions, and why her reaction might reveal more than any direct confession ever could. You won't want to miss that one. Sign number 2. Defensiveness over innocent questions. You ask a simple question. Hey, who were you texting just now? And suddenly, boom, her tone changes. Why do you always assume something? Can't I have a conversation without being interrogated? You're being paranoid. Sound familiar? This isn't about control. This isn't about checking her phone or invading her privacy. It's about how she reacts to basic, reasonable curiosity. Because when someone's honest, they stay calm. They answer. They smile. They explain without drama. But when someone's hiding something, they attack the question itself so they don't have to answer it. This is the second major sign of a woman who may be cheating: defensiveness over innocent, everyday questions. Let's break this down. We're not talking about interrogation. We're not talking about insecurity or jealousy. We're talking about you noticing small inconsistencies and calmly asking questions like, hey, how was your night out? Who were you with? Where'd you guys go? Totally normal questions. But if her tone shifts suddenly, if she flips it on you, makes you the bad guy, that's a red flag. Not because you caught her in a lie, but because she wants you to feel guilty for even asking. That's how manipulation works. You bring up something valid, she turns it into drama. And now you're apologizing for noticing. Let me give you an example. Let's say you ask, did you and Jenna hang out the whole time last night? And she goes, why are you checking up on me? Now suddenly you're the problem. A Stoic man doesn't chase explanations. He watches for reactions. Because reactions reveal more than rehearsed answers. When a woman is being honest, she'll usually answer straight. She won't feel the need to flip the conversation. She won't make you question yourself for simply being engaged. But when there's guilt involved, defensiveness becomes a shield, a tactic, a wall. And here's the deeper truth: guilt is loud. It doesn't sit still. Even if nothing physical has happened yet, emotional betrayal starts with secrecy, and secrecy breeds defensiveness. The Stoics taught that your peace should not depend on other people's moods. That means when someone gets angry, reactive, or sarcastic in response to calm questions, you don't escalate, you don't grovel, you don't over-explain your right to ask. You observe, and you remember. Because that moment tells you more about the state of the relationship than any "I love you" ever could. Let's go deeper for a second. Sometimes women who are cheating will create distance by framing you as the jealous, insecure boyfriend. Why? Because it gives them room to hide. It paints you as unstable and them as justified in withdrawing. It's not always conscious, but the result is the same. You question your instincts. Don't. Stoicism isn't about paranoia. It's about pattern recognition. When someone starts acting out of character, when they get emotional over basic questions, that's not proof they owe you no trial. But it is a shift in energy worth noting. So what do? You don't start fights. You don't chase confessions. You don't try to win back her openness. Instead, you document in your mind. You add it to the pattern. You pull back your emotional investment and you redirect that energy to something solid, your work, your purpose, your discipline, because nothing confuses someone hiding secrets like a man who stays calm, quiet, and unbothered. Now let me ask you, have you ever been made to feel crazy just for asking a normal question? If yes, drop this in the comments. I wasn't crazy. Say it and mean it. That's you taking your power back. And stick around, because the next sign is where things get even more revealing. We'll talk about when she suddenly gets overly protective of her phone and why that tiny device might hold the answers she's scared to say out loud. Don't miss it. Sign number 3. Phone becomes a locked vault. Ever notice how her phone used to just sit there, screen up, untouched? Now it's flipped over. Always locked. Always on silent. Always within reach, like it's some kind of sacred artifact. Let's be clear, everyone deserves privacy. But there's a fine line between privacy and secrecy. And when someone starts guarding their phone like it holds national security intel that's not healthy boundaries, that's a shift in behavior worth paying attention to. This is sign number 3. Her phone becomes a locked vault. Let's talk about what this really means and what a stoic man does when he sees it. First, understand this. Most affairs don't start in hotel rooms. They start in text threads, in DMs, in group chats that seem harmless. That's where modern temptation lives. And when a woman is cheating or even thinking about it, her phone becomes both her escape and her liability. So she hides it. Now she takes it to the bathroom. She sleeps with it under her pillow. She gets jumpy when you pick it up, even if you're just moving it off the couch. All signs that something deeper might be happening. But here's the key. It's not about snooping. It's not about demanding to see her screen or asking for her passwords. A stoic man never begs for trust. He just watches what she gives freely. If openness fades and secrecy grows, you don't need to force the truth. The truth always leaks out through body language, tone, and micro behaviors. Let's go deeper. Ask yourself, was there a time when she used to laugh and say, "Look what my friend just sent me," while scrolling? Now it's like pulling teeth to know anything about what's on that screen. She turns away when texting. She takes longer to respond when you're in the room. Sometimes you hear a ping, but she doesn't check it. She waits until you leave. These are not random habits. They're defensive strategies. Conscious or not, they create emotional distance. And here's where most men mess up. They react emotionally. They accuse. They snoop. They lose control. And in doing so, they lose their center. That's not stoicism, that's reactivity. And reactivity always feeds the chaos you're trying to calm. A stoic man notices. He logs the behavior. He understands that the phone is just a symptom, not the disease. The disease is disconnection. The cure, clarity and boundaries. Now here's the twist. Sometimes she'll accuse you of being insecure just for noticing. She'll say, "You don't trust me," even if you haven't accused her of anything. That's deflection. When someone turns a conversation about their secrecy into a debate about your trust, they're trying to avoid accountability. You don't have to take that bait. Here's what you do instead. You maintain calm. You don't chase answers. You observe patterns. And quietly, you start investing your energy somewhere more stable. Your mission, your health, your growth. Because if someone can't be honest about a phone, they won't be honest when life gets harder. Stoicism isn't about being naive. It's about preparing your mind for truth so that when it comes, you're ready. So if you've seen this sign, if the device that once held Spotify playlists and dumb memes suddenly feels like a portal to another life, drop this in the comments. I see the pattern. Not I'm hurt. Not I'm confused. Not I want answers. Just I see the pattern. Because once you see it, you can never unsee it. And from that moment on, you don't need permission to protect your peace. Now stay with me. Because the next sign is when the emotional gaslighting begins. You bring up concerns, and she tells you you're crazy. You feel something's off, and she makes you the problem. Let's break that down in part 4. You won't want to miss it. Sign number 4. She flips the script on you. You bring up something small, a weird feeling, a shift in tone, and what do you get back? Not clarity, not care. You get accused. She flips the script on you. One day you ask, "Hey, are we still good?" She looks at you like you just insulted her mother. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. Or worse. Why are you always looking for a problem? Sound familiar? This isn't a fight. It's a defense mechanism. But let's be brutally honest. When a woman has something to hide, or when she starts mentally checking out, the easiest way to keep the spotlight off her behavior is to shine it straight back on you. And it works. A lot of men, good men, fall for this. You start second-guessing what you saw. You apologize just to end the tension. You tell yourself maybe you were overreacting, but deep down something still feels wrong. Here's what's really happening. She's trying to break your balance. Because if you lose your footing, she keeps control of the narrative. This is where your stoic mindset becomes your shield. A man rooted in reason doesn't need to shout. He doesn't panic. He sees. And when someone flips the script, a stoic doesn't follow the new lines. He stays grounded in his truth. Let's paint the picture clearly. You say, "You haven't been around much lately." She says you're being clingy. You ask, "Who was that texting you at midnight?" She snaps, "I'm not allowed to have friends. That's not healthy communication. That's emotional sleight of hand." And if it keeps happening, if every time you bring up a concern she shuts you down, flips it around, or storms off, then you're not having a conversation. You're dodging landmines. A relationship should be a place of safety, not a maze you have to tiptoe through. So what do? You don't fight fire with fire. You don't become cold or bitter. You become still. Still enough to see clearly. Still enough to respond, not react. Still enough to decide with full strength what kind of relationship you will or will not accept. That's Stoicism in action. Not silence out of weakness, but silence rooted in clarity. Not walking on eggshells, but standing in your truth, no matter how uncomfortable it makes someone else. And if you're hearing this and thinking, "Damn, this is me right now," then I need you to take 2 seconds and do this now. Subscribe to the channel. You need this guidance not once, but daily. And if you're ready to take that next level of power, of clarity, of brotherhood, join the Stoic community. It's not for everyone. It's not for men who play victim. It's for men like you, done with guessing, done with emotional games, ready to walk with strength. Private tools, exclusive talks, real support. You'll walk differently when you're inside, and women will feel it. Now, before we move on, lock this in. If someone flips the script on you, they don't fear your accusations. They fear your awareness. So stay aware. Stay grounded. Because once you stop explaining yourself, once you stop defending what your gut already knows, everything shifts. And what comes next, let's just say you'll want to keep watching. Something deeper is about to be uncovered. Sign number 5. Cold jokes and passive contempt. You're sitting across from her at dinner. You say something light-hearted, maybe even a compliment, and she responds with what she calls a joke, but it lands like a knife. That's cute. For someone who's still figuring things out. Ouch. She laughs, but there's no warmth behind it. And you're left wondering, was that really just a joke, or was that her way of telling me what she really thinks? This, my friend, is what passive contempt looks like. It rarely shows up as shouting. It doesn't storm into the room. It slides in wearing a smile. You see, when respect starts fading from a relationship, it doesn't always leave loudly. Sometimes it fades through sarcasm, through harmless teasing, through micro-cuts that build over time. And if you bring it up, she'll say, "Relax. You're too sensitive. Can't you take a joke?" But you're not imagining it. You feel the chill behind her words. The Stoics teach us to recognize what's in our control, our reactions, our perspective, our values. What's not in our control, the mask other people choose to wear or drop. Now here's the truth no one tells you. When a woman starts showing contempt, even in small, subtle ways, it's often because her perception of you has changed. Maybe it's resentment, maybe it's comparison, maybe it's guilt. But what matters is this: respect has taken a back seat. Contempt is the ultimate poison in relationships. And when it's disguised as humor, it's even harder to confront. You want to believe the best. You want to avoid conflict. So you laugh it off. Once, twice, 10 times. But over time, those little remarks start to rewrite how you see yourself. And that's where the real damage begins. Let's pause here. Have you been in a conversation where you felt like everything you said was being graded, where no matter what you did there was a jab waiting behind her next smile? It's exhausting, and it's a sign. So how do you respond like a Stoic? You don't throw her sarcasm back at her. You don't launch into a debate. You observe. You assess, is this pattern or one-time stress? Is this a cry for help or a slow bleed of respect? If it's a one-off, you name it, gently but directly. That felt more like a put-down than a joke. Was that your intent? That one line draws a boundary and gives her a chance to reflect. But if this happens over and over again, it's no longer about one comment. It's about the dynamic you're living in. And a man with self-respect doesn't stay where he's regularly minimized, no matter how well it's hidden behind laughter. Let me tell you something. You don't earn respect by tolerating disrespect. You earn it by embodying self-respect quietly, consistently. That means not matching their tone, not chasing approval, just showing up as a man who knows where his line is and walks away when it's crossed too many times. And no, that doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear. Here's something worth remembering. A woman who values you will uplift you, not mock your growth. Even when she's teasing, there's affection underneath. When that affection is gone and replaced with passive jabs, don't ignore it. Now, before we continue, if this part hit a nerve and you've felt this type of contempt before, drop it in the comments with, "I've been there." 2 words. You don't have to explain. But it lets the brotherhood know you see it now. And if you're still watching, good. That tells me you're not the kind of man who runs from truth. You're the kind who faces it head on and grows stronger from it. Stay right here. This next piece, it's going to hit even deeper. Sign number 6. The vanishing future plans. You used to talk about everything. The trip you'd take next summer, the house you might get together, even the kind of dog you'd eventually bring home. And then, somewhere along the line, those conversations stopped. No more we. Just vague, open-ended maybe, or someday tossed into the air like it means nothing. This shift may seem small, but don't ignore it. When a woman quietly starts removing you from her imagined future, she's telling you something louder than words ever could. It doesn't always look like a breakup. It doesn't even look hostile. It looks like her no longer asking where you see yourself in 5 years. It looks like her saying, let's not plan too far ahead when you bring up a concert in 6 months. It looks like silence where there used to be dreams. Here's the part most men miss. This isn't just about optimism, it's about emotional investment. A woman who sees you as part of her future naturally brings you into her vision of it, not because she's needy, because it's instinct. When that instinct fades, pay attention. Stoic wisdom tells us to stop assuming the future is promised. Instead, observe the present clearly. See things as they are, not as you wish they'd be. So, what are you seeing right now? If the woman you're with used to plan life with you and now avoids it, it might not be random. It might mean her heart is detaching and her mind is exploring other paths. Sometimes it's guilt, other times it's fear. But in many cases, especially when paired with other signs, it's a subconscious signal she doesn't see you as part of what comes next. And that stings, I know. But here's where your discipline comes in. You don't beg. You don't try to remind her how good things used to be. You don't start pushing harder to recreate a future she's quietly erased. You observe. You adapt. And you ask yourself, am I holding on to a connection that's already gone cold? The worst thing you can do is fill in the silence with false hope. You think, maybe she's just stressed, or maybe she's waiting for me to bring it up again. But if someone wants you in their future, they make it known. You don't have to guess. Let me give you a practical example. Let's say you've been together for over a year. Holidays are coming up. You ask, should we go visit your family again this year? And she shrugs, I don't know. Maybe I'll just go solo this time. You think, what changed? She might not say it, but her actions scream it. The version of the future where you were in it is fading. So what do? Not panic, not pressure. You remain calm. You step back. And you listen not just to her words, but to the pattern. That's how a Stoic handles emotional shifts, not with reactivity, but with clarity. Now listen. If you've ever felt someone stop including you in their future, and you knew deep down something wasn't right, comment below, I've felt that shift. It's simple, it's honest, and it means you're not ignoring what your gut's been telling you. And if you're still watching, good. That means you're not just here to get played. You're here to understand what's happening and rise above it. This isn't about fear, it's about awareness, because the man who sees clearly cannot be controlled by confusion. Stay with me. We're not done yet. Sign number 7, sudden glow-up that isn't for you. Let's talk about a shift that most men ignore until it's too late. One day she's the same woman you've always known, comfortable, familiar, consistent. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, the gym visits triple. The new wardrobe shows up. Makeup gets heavier. She's experimenting with her look in ways you've never seen before. Now don't get this twisted, self-improvement is good. We all go through phases of wanting to feel better about ourselves, but here's what should make your instincts kick in. When that glow-up isn't shared with you, when it feels like it's happening for someone else. She doesn't ask what you think of the new dress. She doesn't mention she's changing her routine. She just transforms. And you're left wondering, was I even part of this journey? Let me give you a harsh truth, one most men don't want to face. When a woman is emotionally invested in you, her growth feels like a shared path. You'll hear, I want to look good for you. Or, do you like my new style? Even subtle things like sharing a mirror joke or asking you to tag along on a shopping trip show you that you're still part of her world. But when she's checked out, it all becomes private, strategic, almost performative. And no, it's not always for a specific other man, but it's often for the attention she feels she's missing or craving. Here's a truth rooted in Stoic wisdom. People don't suddenly change without reason. Everything is cause and effect. There is always intention behind new behavior. So when you see the glow-up begin, you ask yourself, what's the motive? If it feels like she's preparing for a world that doesn't include you, she probably is. Let me paint a real-world example for you. Imagine you've been dating for a few years. She's always been casual about fashion, never obsessed with social media. Then, boom, she's posting selfies with intense filters, captioning gym mirror pics with cryptic one-liners, buying outfits she never wears around you. And when you ask, what's with the sudden change, she brushes it off. Just felt like switching it up. No explanation, no invitation to share in it. Man, that's not just a style shift. That's a signal. In Stoicism, we learn to observe patterns without judgment, to detach from emotion, and simply see clearly. You don't accuse, you don't beg, you just notice. Because the moment she starts glowing up and you're not reflected in that light, that's when the game has shifted. Now listen closely. You might be tempted to catch up, to hit the gym harder, to change your look too, to try and win her back. But here's what a high-value man does instead. He doesn't chase, he doesn't compare, he aligns deeper with his own purpose. You weren't put on this earth to be someone's background character in their personal reinvention. If the woman you're with is leveling up and cutting you out of the process, you have a choice. You can panic, or you can pause. Ask yourself, is her glow-up inspiring, or is it a warning sign? And if you've ever been in that spot where someone suddenly upgraded their life while emotionally walking away from you, then say it in the comments. I've seen the Midas glow-up shift. Say it loud, because you're not alone. And here's why you should stay with me through the rest of this video. The signs get sharper, the masks come off, and the clarity that follows. It can save you years of emotional confusion. This isn't about blaming her. This is about understanding the truth of where you stand before you give more of yourself to someone already walking out the door. Let's keep going. Sign number 8, nighttime distance and digital walls. Let's be real. Nighttime is when the truth shows its face. During the day, distractions keep everything moving. People are busy. Phones buzz, everyone's rushing. But at night, that's when connections either deepen or die silently. So here's the sign you can't ignore. She starts becoming emotionally and digitally distant after dark. Think about it. She used to call before bed. You'd have late-night chats, share dumb memes, or send a simple good night. Now crickets. She stops replying after 8 p.m. You see the read receipt, but no answer. She's active online but silent in your world. That's not nothing. That's intentional space. Because when a woman is invested in you, the quiet hours feel safe for her. It's when she wants to connect, decompress, feel close. But when she starts pulling back at night, you're witnessing something deeper, an emotional curtain being drawn. Let me give you a scenario you may know too well. You text her something sweet at 9:00 p.m. She used to respond in seconds. Now, nothing. You wait, check. She's posted on Instagram, laughed at a story. Maybe even liked a random guy's picture. But your message, still sitting there. In Stoic philosophy, we're taught to seek clarity, not control. You don't chase. You don't spiral. You observe. And what you're seeing is a woman setting boundaries you never agreed to. You're being slowly boxed out, not with harsh words, but with cold silence. Now, some people will tell you, maybe she's just tired. Sure, once or twice that makes sense. But when it becomes a pattern, when it feels like you're suddenly less important during the time that used to be most intimate, that's emotional withdrawal. And here's what makes it worse, the digital walls. She used to send pictures, voice notes, maybe even goofy selfies. Now, everything's dry. One-word replies, delayed responses, or total disappearance. You bring it up, and she hits you with, "Don't overthink it." Or worse, "You're being needy." No, brother, you're being aware. There's a difference. Stoicism tells us to anchor our value in ourselves, not the opinions of others. So when someone begins to starve you of attention without explanation, don't beg, don't push, don't perform. You recognize the signal. She's communicating her disinterest without using words. A woman who's still emotionally present wants to know how your day ended. She checks in, she listens, she makes space for you. But when the phone goes cold, when her side of the bed feels metaphorically empty even if she's lying next to you, that's the sound of someone leaving quietly. And here's something else worth noting. If you've been in this situation before, say it with strength in the comments. I've felt the silence. That short sentence, it tells other men they're not alone. It tells you that you're not crazy. And it tells her, if she's still watching, that silence has a weight. Now let's pause here for a second. Some guys react to this kind of distance with panic. They double text. They start over-explaining. They break their own boundaries just to get any reaction. But that's not what we do here. If you want to live like a stoic man, you remain composed. You don't make noise trying to fix what she's already decided to walk away from. You respect yourself enough to see the signs, honor them, and respond with strength. So if you've been noticing that her good nights are gone, that the phone feels heavier at night because it's full of unanswered messages, you already know what's happening. The only question left is, what are you going to do about it? You don't need to confront her. You don't need to accuse her. You just need to adjust your position, reclaim your peace, and prepare yourself for clarity, because the truth always comes out. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and stay with me, because this next sign might just confirm everything you've been sensing. Sign number 9, she dismisses your success. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever shared a win, something you were proud of, and the person you cared about barely reacted? You landed a new deal, you crushed a goal. Maybe you even turned your life around, and she just shrugged, changed the subject, or worse, made it about her. That right there, that's not just cold, that's a warning shot. When a woman genuinely supports you, your victories excite her. She celebrates with you, even if it's not her win. But when she starts brushing off your success or acting like it doesn't matter, you're not just being ignored, you're being subtly undermined. Now let's break this down. Early on in a relationship, it's easy for both people to show support. Everything's new, everything's exciting. But when things shift, especially when you start leveling up as a man, some women, not all, will feel threatened by your growth. Why? Because your success creates distance. It reminds her that you're not dependent on her approval. It shows that you can walk away at any moment and still thrive. So what does she do? She masks her discomfort by minimizing your accomplishments. Let's say you tell her about a raise or a promotion. Instead of, "I'm proud of you," she hits you with, "Oh, must be nice." Or, "Well, I guess money fixes everything." That's not partnership. That's veiled resentment. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know the truth. Now let's flip that. If the woman closest to you knows the truth of your journey, how hard you've worked, what you've sacrificed, and still downplays it, she's not on your team. And deep down you already feel it. A man's success should never make the person he loves feel small, but it also shouldn't be weaponized against him by someone who can't handle growth. Let me paint a picture. You start working out, building discipline. She used to cheer you on. Now she says, You care more about the gym than me. You invest time into a new business. Instead of support, you get sarcasm. Guess your work wife must be impressed. That's not love. That's someone trying to shrink your world until it fits their comfort zone. It's subtle, but you can feel the energy shift. Here's what I want you to remember. A secure woman finds joy in your wins. An insecure woman finds fear. And when that fear turns into passive attacks, mockery, or complete indifference, it's not your job to fix her self-worth. It's your job to protect your own. Now, if you've ever felt this, if you've had a woman roll her eyes when you told her about a promotion or mock your excitement when you shared a project you were proud of, I want you to comment, "I know what that feels like." 3 seconds, that's it. But it shows you're not afraid to name what others ignore. You see, the modern Stoic man doesn't beg for validation. He doesn't fight for applause. He moves with clarity and accepts that not everyone is meant to stand beside him when he rises. So the next time she downplays your success, don't argue, don't explain, don't try to make her get it. You just watch, because a woman who can't clap for you in private has no place beside you in public. And here's the hard truth. Sometimes the person you think is closest to you is the one quietly hoping you don't outgrow them. Let that sink in. We've still got one more sign to talk about, and it might just be the one that ties everything together. Stay with me. Sign number 10. Her indifference says it all. You want to know the most silent but deadliest sign? It's not yelling. It's not cheating. It's not even arguing. It's indifference. When she stops caring, she stops reacting. No more questions, no more concern, no more interest. And if you're a man, especially a man with standards, goals, and values, you will feel that silence louder than any scream. Indifference isn't the absence of love, it's the death of emotional investment. And that's what makes it so dangerous. Let me walk you through it. She used to notice everything, your mood, your energy, whether you looked tired or were unusually quiet. Now she doesn't ask anymore. Doesn't flinch when you come home late, doesn't notice the tension in your voice, or worse, she notices and chooses not to care. And here's the catch, she's still physically there, but emotionally gone. It's like talking to a wall that used to love you back. And for many men, this is where confusion sets in, because it doesn't look like cheating, it doesn't look like betrayal, but it feels cold, empty, disconnected. You try to bring up a topic. She shrugs. You tell a joke. She scrolls on her phone. You make an effort. She acts like it's routine. That's not normal. That's not healthy. And here's where Stoicism gives you clarity. Epictetus taught that we should never place our happiness in the hands of things we cannot control. Her indifference, not your fault, not your responsibility to fix. The only thing you control is your response. So what do? You stop chasing her attention like it's oxygen. You stop handing over your energy to someone who's already emotionally left the building. You stop living in denial. Because when a woman is truly indifferent, it means she's made her decision. She may still sleep next to you. She may still say, "I'm just tired." But deep down, her heart has closed the door, and she didn't even bother to lock it. Now, some guys try to fix this by becoming overly nice, buying flowers, saying "I love you" more, cooking dinner. But here's the truth. You can't fix indifference with effort, because effort only works when there's still interest on the other side. Let me ask you straight, have you ever felt like you were slowly becoming invisible to someone you used to mean the world to? If that hits you even a little bit, drop a quick comment. I've been there. It takes 2 seconds. But for men out there feeling the same thing, it might just remind them they're not crazy or alone. Because you're not. What you're feeling is real, and it's a warning. When she stops celebrating your wins, when she doesn't ask where you're going or when you'll be back. When every conversation feels like a chore instead of a connection, that's your cue. Not to beg, not to convince, but to remember who you are. As a Stoic man, you don't need constant validation. You don't cling to people who no longer show up. You don't stay in places that shrink your spirit. You step back, you observe. And if it's time to walk, you walk with your head high. Because silence can be peaceful, but indifference is a message, and it's loud and clear. She's no longer in this with you. And once you see it for what it is, you stop trying to fix it. You start choosing your own peace. You deserve a relationship where effort meets effort, where energy is exchanged, where love is felt, not just remembered. So, if she's become indifferent, don't try harder, stand firmer. That's where your power lives. And if you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just about her behavior. It's about how you respond to it. A weak man reacts, a strong man reflects. But a Stoic man, he redirects his focus, his energy, his time to where it's valued. So don't let silence confuse you. Don't let indifference weaken you. See the signs, accept the truth, and walk with power, not pain. If this video gave you clarity, strength, or even a hard truth you needed to hear, subscribe to the channel right now. And if you're ready to take this mindset deeper, join the Stoic community, our private space for men who live by purpose, not by emotion. We don't chase, we choose, and we rise together. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.